Good day and welcome back to the Family Cyber Clinic. This week we're going to go over a sensitive issue that we've found, certainly with our young ones, who whilst visiting certain websites get a message suggesting that the site they're about to browse is insecure or not trusted. And we're also finding that these young ones are ignoring those messages, which surprisingly the vendors allow them to do, and they're browsing these sites. We have a few occasions or reports where they have come into a lot of bother. And so, as we do, we are making sure that parents are armed to answer the question when their young ones present them with a tablet or a laptop with a message suggesting that the website they're about to go into is insecure or not trusted. And we have a few images to use to make sure that the parents are, not the other person, you are well informed. Okay, but before we do, I'll ask you, if you've not already done so, please subscribe to the channel and support our efforts to equip not just yourselves, but other parents like you who are struggling, to guide their young ones adequately. YouTube will use the likes and the subscriptions to make sure that this message gets to the right people. So please subscribe, okay? All right, so a few of those images are like this one I'm showing you now, where you would see an exclamation mark, as you can see there. Ultimately, you have to be clicking on a URL that starts, by URL I mean an address that starts with HTTPS, and that gives you some comfort or assurance that the site you're visiting is legit, secure, trusted, etc. But in this instance, you can see that there's an exclamation mark, and that exclamation mark will suggest, as you can see, that the connection is not secure. And what does that mean? It means that the connection between you and the website you're about to visit is not secure, or in technical terms is not encrypted, which means that someone can hijack that information, or the information that moves from you to that website. That will include private information and sensitive information, as the case may be. Another example will be this. It says the site security certificate is not trusted. And that's usually the case. Many vendors will take on a certificate which they're doing the right thing, but fail to renew on expiration. And that is a worrying thing, because it means they have taken their eyes off the ball. Those sites cannot be a safe place, as far as you know, because the connection between you and that site is not protected or encrypted. As you can see, it's quite bold. It makes it very clear. But what perturbs me or disturbs me is that the vendor allows you or the young one to ignore that message and go to these sites. And to avoid the danger, rogues are counting on the fact that you're going to go, because you need the information that you are looking for. And so for the few that will take that bait, you end up in a lot of bother. And we want to equip parents so that that's not the case. Another image that I'll use would be this one, where it says the site security certificate has expired. Expiration of your certificate could be just 2 days out of date, but it just suggests that you are not paying adequate attention to the website or the information on your website, which means a rogue can compromise your site and by proxy harm those who are visiting that website too. So it's important that we understand that these things are things that we have to look out for. is not something that we should just leave the young ones to, meander through. It is a warning, and a warning message, deserves attention. And so when our young ones are bringing it to our attention, we must make sure we're explaining it like I've tried to do in as simple terms as possible. Okay, so what other things can we do as parents to help guide our young ones, about browsing websites in general? We must teach them to spot those insecure or untrusted site warnings. Once they see it, they should not venture into that site. If they really need that information, they must dialogue with someone who is older, a parent or a guardian, to make sure that they are browsing safely and consistently. As I said, Apple, Safari, Google Chrome, and Microsoft Edge, common browsers, would always give a warning because they check to see the legitimacy of the certificates applied on websites. And whenever there's an expiration or there's some issue, they will flag that warning, and we must pay attention. Okay? You must help them look for telltale signs, the red flags. You see an exclamation mark in red, like I've shown you, or you see an exclamation mark or a triangle in yellow. All those are common warning signs which they must not ignore. And so if you visit a site and the site is HTTP, you can be sure that the connection between you and that website, or your young one and that website, is also not protected. So the fact that you're not getting the warning would mean that it's quite possible that there's a legitimate certificate being used, or you're browsing, HTTP, which is not secure, which is not a secure browsing protocol. So it's important that they understand that if they're looking for security, they should only browse if they can help it, sites that begin with HTTPS and have a green sign or a green tick suggesting that the certificate is legit and in date. Okay? In general, I've always had this rule. None of our kids or us will go to an ATM, and as we're putting our card into the ATM, we say, oh, come and look at my PIN. That is what we're doing when we ignore those messages. We're going blind. So it's important that the security you apply when you are, withdrawing money from a cash machine or an ATM, you must apply those same principles whilst browsing on the internet in general. And that's a general rule that the clinic recommends. Another point that we want to share is that parents must lead by example. Our kids watch. They watch what we do. If we are ignoring those messages, like we browse a site in front of them and we're saying ignore, I want this information, they're going to copy. So we must lead by example. And the last point is we mustn't wait for them to bring in these errors to us. We must go to them and say, how is your browsing experience? What do you do? Show me how you browse. Engage them. That is the passion that we have in the Family Cyber Clinic. And we want you to translate that when you engage and spend time with your young ones on the internet. It is vital, absolutely vital. Okay? Good stuff. Okay, so clinic news. And now I'm torn which news to share, but I don't know whether I can squeeze the other one because I've not really got the information. But the one that I really want us to take on this week is password setting. By password setting is setting a password, not the other thoughts that you were going. I have found in my travels that there are people who are not setting a password on their computer or their laptop. I went on my journey a few weeks ago, and I met a gentleman who, whilst I was helping him out on his computer, found out that there was no password. And I made the assumption at the time that he removed the password because he knew I was visiting and he didn't want to be interrupted, with all the things that are going on. He didn't want to be in the same room, so he made it as easy as possible for me. So I didn't ask the question, why are you not setting the password? I regret that now, but hey, that's what I thought at the time. Thankfully, another opportunity was presented to me where I visited a lady this time and found that she had not set a password. I summoned up enough courage to ask her, why do you not have a password? We're in 2020. And the answer she gave me blew my mind. She said she lives alone. There's no one else in the house. What does she need to be protected from? I knew that this was a clinic item, something that I had to throw, because if you're doing stats and all that and you want to take a poll, it's quite possible that someone on this platform has a computer or computers or tablets that doesn't have a password set. And I want to get you to a place where the reason she gave is no longer a valid reason. And that's because of the internet rogues who act remotely. And they're counting on the fact that they will encounter a computer that does not have a password. And so when those bugs come, let's say you are out of date on your antivirus or your patch for the operating system, and for some painful reason, a bug gets into your system, the first thing it's going to try to do is log in. And if there's no password, it is, I can't remember the term that they use, but it's open season. That's it. Open season. They will run riot on your system because there's nothing. And it's just the first line of defense. And we suggest that you set a complex password. Microsoft and I believe other vendors have made it easy. If you have problems remembering passwords, which I find can be a reason why you don't set a password, then set a PIN. So you set a password, which is very complex, and then set a PIN that is also not too easy, not 1, 2, 3, 4. In fact, I think Windows will not even allow you to do that. But ultimately, you have other things that you can do, like password hints and all that. But we would advise that you have to set a password. No matter how many people live in your house, you must set a password. Read my lips. Set a password. Okay? Of course, there are other levels with MFA or multi-factor authentication that allows even more complexity. But I'm saying at the least, set a password or a PIN to avoid the rogue. It is vital. There is no excuse in our age, okay? So perhaps next week I'll share the other concern. It is a scam. If I need to get it to you earlier, I'll do so, but that will come at our clinic news section next week, okay? Good stuff. All right, as we do each week, I love the PowerPoint sections, and that's shouldn't be a surprise to you. But it's important that we also look at these PowerPoints because they're out to help get us think, okay? The stuck up, I say, fall on their faces. But those who are down to earth, the down to earth people, if you like, they stand firm. I'm your host, Cyber Pastor Lawrence Edem. Until next week, God bless and goodbye.